What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Dude Hines Show. Today is January 11th, 2021, and in today's video, I am joined by Tony Gazza. How you doing today, Tony?
Doing good. How about yourself, Jordan?
Doing really, really good. We have so much to talk about this week in the NFL. With the head coach firings, the NFL playoffs are this week. It's absolutely crazy. The NFL regular season just ended. And, when you look at some of these, head coach firings, we're going to talk about that, my first topic here. Some of these were, kind of expected, but one of these really in particular was just a shock around the whole NFL, it seemed like. Matt Nagy was fired from the Chicago Bears, expected. Some people, wasn't even sure if he's going to make the whole season in Chicago. Mike Zimmer was fired from Minnesota. Mike Zimmer, to me, is just one of those guys who had the talent had the talent in Minnesota. They're just one of the most underachieving teams, most disappointing teams the last several years because they have so much talent on offensive and defensive side of the ball. Vic Fangio, the head coach of the Broncos, that's kind of a similar situation with the Minnesota Vikings. And, with the Denver Broncos, you look at the Broncos, I mean, they have so much talent, a great wide receiver core. They just could not find their quarterback. If they would have had their franchise quarterback, I think Vic Fangio would still be the head coach at Denver. And then you look at this last name here, Brian Flores, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. This firing makes absolutely no sense at all. In 3 seasons with Miami, Flores was 24-25. The first season they were 5-11 and looked like he was going to be a very good coach for Miami for years to come. Last season they were 10-6, and this past year they were 9-8, despite starting the season off 1-7. I just do not get this. And 24-25 in 3 seasons, that's without having a good quarterback. Tua is not a good quarterback. He's not going to be your franchise quarterback. So 24-25 is first 3 seasons. Zach Taylor has also coached 3 seasons as well. When you look at his record, he's 16-32-1 as a head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's with having Joe Burrow as his quarterback of the future and quarterback to help them get some, big-time victories this season. I just do not get this. Brian Flores has 9 wins this season. Zach Taylor has 10 wins this season. One is a guy who's considered to be possibly a Coach of the Year candidate. The other just got fired. Like, this makes zero sense to me. I don't get this at all. And Miami screws up, and you screw up when you fire a head coach. When you fire him, the top head coach automatically in the market is the guy you just fired. You really screwed up there. Miami, they could possibly, ruin their whole rebuilding process. I know Flores was, a possible, big reason why Deshaun Watson was possibly willing to come to Miami. Now that's probably going to be off the table. I mean, when you look for a new head coach, that means you're going to be looking for new coordinators and everything like that. And with Tua, who I don't think he's a franchise quarterback, but he has shown some promise at times, he's probably going to have a new playbook and everything. And then, I mean, this is not just a head coaching thing. I mean, it really, lots of these guys in the offensive and defensive coaching staff probably aren't going to be there next year. So you're going to have a whole new scheme and everything like that. Just because you fired a guy who was only 1 game under 500 in 3 seasons, despite not having a nearly as good roster as some of these teams who have worse records, it really makes no sense to me. To me, this is a very similar situation, with Jim Caldwell. As the coach of the Lions for 4 seasons. I believe he was 36-28, something like that. The Lions suck. They're probably the worst franchise in NFL history. And, Caldwell led the Lions to the postseason a couple of times, and, he was great for them. And then all of a sudden, Detroit fires him for no reason. It's another day. I still don't get why he was fired. It's a very similar situation with Brian Flores. I expect him to, have a head coaching job very soon. This, decision for Miami to me just does not make any sense, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at that firing, I think it was uncalled for. Brian is definitely a great head coach. He's a successful head coach. Definitely got the wins under his belt. Basically, if 500 team. And when you look at it, he had a good, bright future with Tua at the helm. But you look at it, he's definitely going to be a coach that's going to be hired first day. I think Chicago might snag him. Definitely think he's in the market for a top salary. He's going to get paid well. You look at some other teams, man. Do you think Sean Payton, I think he's safe. And you look at the Giants, I'm shocked they kept Judge. I thought that they would have fired him. And did you see that play where they QB sneaked it on like 3rd and 9 in their own end zone?
That should be play of the year. That's fantastic.
I couldn't believe it. And I think Mike Tomlin's a very successful head coach, but he's been on the hot seat for many years, and he's never had a losing season. When you think of a guy as a caliber as Mike Tomlin, and he's on the hot seat, that says something. And then you look at some other coaches, Bruce Arians has faced some backlash with Antonio Brown, and I think we'll address that later, the whole AB situation, which is bizarre nonetheless. But I think in the North, obviously, Matt LaFleur is the last coach standing here. Okay, obviously. You look at Mike Zimmer. I think he had Green Bay's number for a while there, but with the talent he had, they under-succeeded there. Point blank, period. Okay. And then you look at the Bears. Matt Nagy, that was expected. What do you expect, man? You look at Mitchell Trubisky, that was a disaster. When they picked Trubisky number 1 overall, we couldn't believe it. They could have had Deshaun Watson. They could have had Patrick Mahomes. 2 guys that I'd rather have over. But Deshaun Watson himself is having some controversy with his assaults and etc. So we'll see where that goes. And I don't know where his future lies with Houston Texans. That's going to be interesting to see here. But yeah, some of these head coach firings are definitely shocking, man. I couldn't believe Brian getting fired. That was a big shock. But when you look at it, is Miami a great destination? Sure, it's a one stop and go. I think like you see a lot of like veteran guys stop there, like Ryan Fitzpatrick for say, like he had a 1-year stint there. So like I think it's like a quarterback shuffle culture in Miami. Like they don't have like a franchise guy. Now they have Tua, right? But you look at it in the past, like Miami's not a very bestowed upon destination. You look at some places like Green Bay with the franchise quarterback like Aaron Rodgers for 10 years. You look at a place like Pittsburgh Steelers, franchise quarterback for 10 years. So you look at some of those teams and you can see it night and day. But yeah, I'll give it back to you, Jordan.
When you talk about those quarterbacks, I mean, really the Dolphins screwing up, did not only come, yesterday with Brian Flores, being fired. They drafted Tua over Justin Herbert, and that just baffles my mind. I don't get how you could possibly do that. But you look at the Dolphins. They've not really had that consistent quarterback, like you've said. They've really bounced around with lots of different guys, especially since Ryan Tannehill left for the Tennessee Titans. And it's crazy to me that the Dolphins are willing to rebuild when you look like you have a good team. You get a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, just a good one. The Dolphins team is a playoff team. Back-to-back years, you're over 500. Really doesn't make much sense. It's crazy to me. And, with their win on Sunday against the Patriots, they swept the Patriots, and you fire your coach. That's insane. I just don't get how you could fire a coach who really has, shown lots of promise, and just give him a little bit more, good players. They can be a really, really nice team. And, when you look at some of these, games and teams here, like I said, Miami did miss the playoffs. They were 9-8. And, there were some teams who were kind of, missed the playoffs that were people, were surprised about. Some people, made the playoffs. Nobody really expected them to make. So, kind of looking at this playoff bracket. So, obviously, we have the, Chiefs, Steelers, then Bills, Patriots, Titans, Bengals, Raiders, Buccaneers, Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, Rams, Cardinals, and Packers. Some of these teams like the Packers, the Buccaneers, Rams, Chiefs, teams like that, you already know who are going to be in the playoffs, because they have such a good franchise. They have some really good quarterbacks. But, you look at some of these other teams, they're kind of missing, some teams who you kind of thought was going to be in the playoffs, but, they are nowhere to be found. They really had disappointing seasons. So to me, when you kind of talk about teams who biggest surprise teams not in the playoffs, in my opinion, I think one of the first teams to come to mind is the Cleveland Browns. And I know before the show we started talking, I'm so tired of all the Browns, talk with Mayfield. I think he's a overhyped, Andy Dalton. And you look at this Browns team, they have such a great roster. They have a fantastic offensive line. They have a great defensive line. But they were under 500 this year. I thought heading into the season, I thought they were for sure favorites to end up winning the AFC North. I'm very surprised they did not end up being in the postseason this year. Another team, I know we were talking before the show. I was so, I don't know. I was so aggravated with their hype, to begin the season, and then that was the Ravens. Heading into the year, I thought the Ravens were going to be playoff team, but as the season continued, I was just so tired of them because I knew they were so overrated. And, they started off 8-3 and they finished, the season, 8-9. They lost 6 straight games. Despite me, not liking the Ravens and the Browns and me saying that both these teams are severely overrated throughout this regular season, heading into the season, I really did think both these teams would end up making the postseason. And it kind of surprises me that neither one of these teams, ended up making the list and everything, in the postseason. Another team here, I know I was really stupid heading into the season. I know you were on the show. We did the NFC North divisional preview. I was dumb when I picked the Vikings to win a division, which looking at their roster, I'm very surprised the Vikings not make the postseason. I know Mike Zimmer is very inconsistent as a head coach, but this Vikings team to me, I already kind of mentioned that. Dalvin Cook's one of the best running backs in the NFL. Justin Jefferson's going to be a star. Adam Thielen's very reliable. Kirk Cousins, he's not great, not horrible. He's pretty decent. You have a nice defense to some of these guys. They had a fantastic draft. Really surprises me that Minnesota did not make the postseason. I would say Minnesota, Baltimore, and Cleveland to me are the 3 biggest surprises that did not end up making the postseason. So Tony, who's some of the teams that you think are kind of surprised who we are not seeing in the NFL playoffs this week?
Right. Well, Chargers, obviously, that was a big one. And it was in Las Vegas, and I'm a resident here. And shout out to the Raiders for coming through on that. That was an exciting game. Justin Herbert had one hell of a throw to get it into overtime. But you look at that, they're not in the playoffs, and Pittsburgh is. It would have been historic if it was a tie. I think the sportsbook avoided a big collapse, because if it was a tie, man, they would have had a large payout for sure. No doubt about it. But you look at Ben Roethlisberger getting another shot. That's the story. I think that's a great story there. You guys obviously play the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken, correct? In the wild card, or in the first round, you guys play the Raiders. Yeah, I'm mute.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised the Raiders, ended up making the postseason as well. The Steelers, that's really another surprise too. When you look at Mike Tomlin, everything he's had to go through the last couple of years, as a coach, he's had to deal with, Juju Smith, Chase Claypool, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. It's really surprising that he's not had like a mental breakdown in practice and everything, dealing with all the drama with those, players. And, the Chargers, that is another surprise too. When you look at Justin Herbert, he's one of the most, going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You already kind of mentioned the Chargers, but when you look at teams who the biggest surprise to make the postseason, to me, obviously the Steelers come to mind because I thought they were going to be last in the AFC North this season. But, the fact that the Steelers made the postseason, despite Ben Roethlisberger's horrible play this season, really shows, I mean, I don't like saying it, but really shows just the consistency and the overall just great coaching levels of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You kind of mentioned there was talks maybe earlier in the season if Tomlin would get fired. I mean, he's done a tremendous job this season, despite his kind of lack of talent. People think they have a great roster. I think they probably maybe have the worst roster in the AFC North, and they still managed to make the playoffs. And if Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, they somehow pull off this, upset in the TikTok Bowl against the, Chiefs this week, with Jackson Mahomes and Chase Claypool, you look at it, I feel like if Mike Tomlin is able to pull off a massive upset against the Chiefs, I don't think it'll happen. I think it needs to be considered about him possibly being coach of the year if you're able to pull off that, tremendous of an upset against the Chiefs. But when you look at these teams, the Raiders, Steelers, even the Eagles. The Eagles are a very surprising team. Ending of the year, I thought the Eagles were going to have like maybe 3-4 wins. I thought they had like a top 5 worst roster in the league. Now we're talking about a team who not only made the postseason, but made the postseason and they're over 500 with a first-year head coach, and they have 3 first-round picks in the 2022 draft. Jalen Hurts, they're still kind of up in the air. Maybe he's going to be the franchise quarterback or not. But let's say he's not the franchise quarterback. Have you got 9 wins, made the postseason with a first-year head coach and a guy who isn't going to be a franchise quarterback? Imagine what it's going to be like when you get a good quarterback or a franchise guy, maybe like a Sam Howell or a, who knows, a quarterback in this draft class. But the Eagles are very impressive to me. I know they kind of play in a crappy division in the NFC East, but I think they've done a terrific job. I think Nick Sirianni needs more consideration for, Coach of the Year. And the Bengals as well. I'm shocked the way the Bengals are in the playoffs. Like heading into the year, when you tell me the Bengals are 9-8 and they made the wild card, I would have believed it because I had them at 8 wins. I was really tossed up between 8 and 9. But the way we won, the division, the way we've beat some of these top teams and hung around with them, I feel like this Bengals team is surprised the way they do it. The fact that they won the AFC North, arguably the most hardest division in the NFL, is very incredible considering, heading into the year, not many people had us, having many wins. But, there's so many teams, like the Steelers, the Raiders, Eagles, Bengals, some of these teams who, not many people expected them to be in the playoffs, but they are, really surprising people this season. And, and another thing here, when you look at some of these teams in the postseason, there's some overrated teams and there's underrated teams. So, Tony, when you look at these teams in the postseason, who are some of the most overrated and underrated teams in your opinion heading into the NFL playoffs this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think underrated is Dallas for sure. Dallas Cowboys are dangerous. A lot of people are saying their win over Philly doesn't prove anything, but you look at them and I think Dallas, they have something to prove. They have a chip on their shoulder. I think underrated here also is Green Bay. Everyone says, Green Bay is a fluke in the NFC Championship game and so on and so forth. But you look at Matt LaFleur and what he's done in his past 3 seasons. Only 10 losses, but it's Detroit. It was a throwaway game anyways here. But you look at only 9 really losses, and he's had 3 consecutive seasons of 13-3. I mean, come on, man. You can't ask for much more than that. And we have home field advantage. So, I don't think we're overrated. I think we're definitely underrated. And, people talk down on Aaron Rodgers. People talk down on the Green Bay Packers. But I think we have something to prove. And it's not because I'm biased. I know you would have the same to say for your Cincinnati Bengals here. But, I'm not biased. I'm just speaking the facts. Aaron Rodgers is going to win his 4th MVP. Book it. I guarantee it because he ran away with it. Simple as that. 4,000-yard season, only 4 interceptions, 37, 38 touchdowns. I mean, this guy's phenomenal. You can't ask for much more. And those 2 interceptions came in the Saints game. And if you look at it, I view that as an extended preseason game there because we only had 3 in the beginning, right? And then week 1, I mean, Jameis Winston, 1 played the best game of his life. too, Aaron Rodgers was, that was his first game back, and he had a holdout in the offseason. So that was his, just, get his feet wet. So those 2 interceptions to me, that's okay. Overall, he's going to win the MVP. I have my money on it. I already put a bet down on that. You can mark my words. So I think those are the underrated teams. Overrated. I don't know. Titans. I'll say the Tennessee Titans. I think that they are going to be one and done.
When you look at some of these, underrated and overrated teams, you mentioned the Packers, and it's weird saying a team with Aaron Rodgers as our quarterback is an underrated team heading into the postseason, but it's kind of exactly, how it is and exactly what you were saying. When you look at Aaron Rodgers only having 4 interceptions in the year, to me, that just really, helps his case and really, has a big gap between anybody else to him and the MVP, his lack of interceptions. And the 2 against the Saints, I remember people were talking, at the beginning of the year, the Packers aren't going to be good this season, with Rodgers, playing, bad against New Orleans. That's a game that Aaron Rodgers plays that you're never, ever, ever, ever going to see him play that bad again. And the fact that, he was holding out and everything, people, jumped the ship on the, Green Bay Packers, and they're not going to be good. And now we're talking about them possibly, being Super Bowl favorites and, representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. But I think the Packers are one of the teams who are, underrated. I don't know. The Eagles, the fact that they have, 9 wins and are in the, postseason, to me, I think that they need to have a little bit of credit. I think they're going to lose to the Buccaneers, but they are I think they're slightly underrated heading into the postseason. Not trying to be biased. I know you already mentioned your team and the Packers. It's impossible, not talking about the Bengals when it comes to underrated teams. I think we can beat anybody in the AFC North. I think the Bengals can beat anybody in the AFC right now. And people be like, oh, well, I don't think you can. Oh, well, look at the Bengals' record against AFC opponents who are in the playoffs right now. The Bengals are 4-0 against teams who are in the playoffs in the AFC. No other AFC team is undefeated against opponents who are in the AFC. We beat the Chiefs, best one we've had in years. We humiliated the Steelers the second time we played them. We really beat down on them the first time we played them. We humiliated the Raiders just a month or so ago. And you look at this game, with the Raiders this week. When we played the Raiders a month or so ago, our kicker had more points than the whole Raiders team. I mean, I really think this Bengals team is really underrated. I think they can get past the Raiders. I think they can get past the Bills or Patriots. I feel more comfortable playing the Patriots because that's another home game for the Bengals. But I think, honestly, they can be anybody in the AFC. And you look at the NFC, I really think they could be anybody. I'm really not trying to be biased here, but, we kind of talked about before the show, the Packers and Bengals game. That game could have gone either way. And since that time, the Bengals are 100 times better. I know the Packers are 100 times better. Both these teams are not the same teams they played, in early October. Both these teams are significantly improved. But I really think we can go toe-to-toe with anybody right now. And when you go to overrated, I really think the Titans are one of the more overrated teams, and they already mentioned that. But I think they're going to lose to the Chiefs. If they play the Chiefs, I think they're going to lose. If they play the Steelers, I honestly think they lose the Steelers. They're not probably going to play the Steelers. The Steelers will get humiliated against the Chiefs, but I don't see the Titans winning a game in the postseason. I think they're extremely overrated 1 seed. I think the Bengals, Bills, Patriots, Chiefs, all those teams are better. I mean, we even mentioned teams who were not in the postseason. I think the Chargers are better than the Titans. I might sound kind of crazy. The Chargers who are not even in the playoffs, I think if they play the Titans right now, the Chargers would beat them. That goes for some of the other lower seed teams in the NFC. As for the NFC, I really don't see a team that's significantly, overrated. When you look at the Cardinals, the 5 seed, I know we talked about before, you're not really high on them. I could kind of see that, for the majority of the season, they were winning games and, they were, they were in full control of the, 1 seed, and then they dropped to the 5 seed. They started losing some games they should not have lost to against some not really great opponents. So if I had to go to underrated, I would definitely say the Bengals and Packers. And when you look at overrated, I would definitely say the Titans number 1, and I would also probably toss the Cardinals up there as well.
Yeah, real quick, I want to add on that. So the Green Bay Packers have 3 All-Pros that they're adding back, okay? And you look at them, they have gone without these guys. Look at David Bakhtiari. He's been out the whole season. I haven't even seen him on the field. He's been practicing, but Elton Jenkins obviously is out for the year. But you're getting an all-pro tackle, David Bakhtiari back, who might be the best left tackle in all of the league. And he's best friends with Aaron Rodgers, by the way. And, Aaron Rodgers said he'll take a 60 to 80% healthy David Bakhtiari over anyone. He doesn't give a damn. Give me a 60% David Bakhtiari. He wants Davey on the field. And then you look at Josh Myers. The young guy had a good start to the season. We're getting him back. You look at guys like Jair Alexander, getting him back. Zadarius Smith, getting him back. So we're getting guys that we've gone without. And then not to mention, we've developed a young guy named Rasul Douglas who saved us so many games. I mean, this guy is a monster, and I'm so grateful we got him. We snagged him for nothing. Literally, for peanuts, we got this guy. So you look at the Packers, and not to mention Matt LaFleur has done a wonderful job splitting carries with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones in the backfield. So overall, I always say Packers in the Super Bowl because, yes, I'll be honest, yes, because I have faith in them because the past 3 seasons we've gone 13-3. So the past 3 years I've been saying Super Bowl or nothing. And have we not gotten to the past 2 NFC Championship games? Yes or no? So I'm just saying, you look at that. I think this is the year. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a wide window anymore. It's shutting rapidly. So we need a win now. And why not win when you have a fully constructed roster with an all-pro Devontae Adams, who now holds a franchise record, by the way, and so does Aaron Rodgers. So, these guys are shattering records, and people might say, yeah, because of the extended game. Even if it wasn't for the extended game, they still shattered the records. So, with that being said, I'm very excited. I can't wait to go live with you again, man. We'll definitely coordinate something when it comes down to it.
Yeah, when you look at some of these, teams, some very underrated and overrated teams, that we've kind of talked about, and when you also kind of look at these teams heading into the postseason, there's a couple of teams who have lots of pressure to win a Super Bowl. So to me, when I look at them, teams who have the most pressure to win a Super Bowl, there's 2 teams that come to mind. One is the Packers and one is the Rams. I feel like the Packers, obviously, because if you don't win it this season, if Rodgers, is no longer a Packer, if he leaves in the offseason, that was your chance to win it. And I don't think, obviously, Jordan Love is not prepared yet enough to win, the Packers quite a bit of games. I don't think he's that good enough yet. With Rodgers, this is your year to win the Super Bowl. If you're Green Bay, you're the 1 seed, and you mentioned some of these guys coming back from injury, like Bakhtiari and everybody like that. With that, bye that they have getting the 1 seed, that really helps them out so much because these guys can even, prepare more and get healthier and get more healthier by the time they play. This being a Lambeau Field, it gives them advantage so much. So I feel like when you look at it, if the Packers don't win the Super Bowl, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, that means that they lost in their home field. So I feel like that really, adds a more disappointing factor of the Packers, who are a team who is tremendous at home. But I really feel like the Packers are up there. Teams, they have to win a Super Bowl this year. They have so much pressure. And then the team is the Rams. Because when you look at this Rams team, they are trading, to get players, throughout the season, the past year or so, like it's, franchise mode on Madden. They traded to get, Matthew Stafford within a year or so ago. They traded to get Von Miller. They traded to get Jalen Ramsey a couple years ago. This is a team who's constantly making moves. And, you look at their roster is absolutely tremendous. They signed Odell Beckham Jr. when he was, released by the Browns. Cooper Kupp is one of the best seasons ever as a wide receiver. It's not really being talked about much, but he's having one of the probably the best season ever for a wide receiver in NFL history. I mean, you look at their offense, you look at their defense, it's terrific. I mean, Andrew Whitworth is 40 years old, but he's, graded one of the best tackles in the league this season. He's going to be a for sure future Hall of Famer. I mean, they have so many, guys on both sides of the ball, and they've put, the effort, trading for some of these guys and signing some of these guys who, cost a lot of money. But if you don't win that Super Bowl, and all the draft picks you've basically thrown away to trade and get some of these guys, if you don't win a Super Bowl, it's not going to be worth it. The only way all these signings and these trading these draft picks are going to be eventually worth it if this Rams team can win the Super Bowl. If they don't do it, everything was complete failure. So I feel like the Rams have quite a bit of pressure too. Obviously you look at a team like the Patriots who anytime you have Tom Brady as your quarterback, you're expected to win the Super Bowl. But when but you also have that pressure, like if you don't win, it's a failure season basically. So to me, I really feel like the top teams who have the most pressure to win the Super Bowl would be the Packers and the Rams, both in the NFC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not too concerned about the Rams because Odell Beckham Jr. had a chance to sign with the Green Bay Packers on a veteran minimum, but did not. He chose the lifestyle of LA, which is okay with me, so be it. But we saw what happened when the Rams came to Green Bay. Okay, so I'm not too concerned there. If they don't win the Super Bowl with all the money spent in free agency, hey, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Might as well spend the money and try. I mean, look at the Broncos; they won a Super Bowl with that defense. So look at the Seattle Seahawks with that defense. So. I'm overall thinking that the Packers have the biggest, chip on the shoulder because Aaron Rodgers hasn't gotten a Super Bowl in 10 years. He's contemplated retirement, and you only have him for so many years. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, do or die. And as a Packer fan, this is the year. It's time because the last time we won a Super Bowl, I was in 5th grade. I was in elementary school. Ladies and gentlemen, I am graduated from high school. I was attending college, but now work full time. So that's how long it's been. It's been a decade, my friends. So it's now or never. It will be Aaron Rodgers' time to shine and ride off in the sunset. If he wins the Super Bowl, I guarantee you he retires. I will not be shocked. And if people are like, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers retired. No, because he's actually good friends with Jordan Love. And he teaches Jordan Love. And he actually takes him under his wing. People think it's opposite. I give Jordan Love tough love, if you will. But I definitely think that Aaron Rodgers is saying, hey, look at him. Look at that game in Kansas City. It was a one-score game. And Jordan Love, obviously he's not Aaron Rodgers, but damn, man, I think Aaron Rodgers has his best intentions. And if he does win a Super Bowl, I wouldn't be shocked if he says, you know what, I'll hand the reins off to you and good luck, my friend. Because I have 2 Super Bowl rings, 4 MVPs, the best touchdown to interception ratio in NFL history, not even close. Newlywed, Shailene Woodley, I got Jeopardy. What else you want in life, man? I mean, he has everything you want. So I think at the end of the day, it's do or die at the end of the day. We have to do it now or never. Okay.
Yeah, I could also see a scenario like if the Packers win the Super Bowl, like Rodgers is either retiring or maybe staying with the Packers. But I just don't see why he would stay with the Packers because why not basically Peyton Manning it, right off in the sunset, have your last game, be a Super Bowl victory because you talked about, they haven't won a Super Bowl in a decade. I don't why would you continue to play if you're in the highest peak? Like you just win the MVP more than likely. You just won the Super Bowl. It just doesn't make sense. People talked about that, with Brady, with a year or so ago, if he won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, would he retire, ended off, on a high note. Because I mean, if you won a Super Bowl, I just don't get the point of continuing to playing. End it off on the best possible note you can. Because who's to say, next season, let's say Packers win a Super Bowl, Rodgers comes back and he, tears his ACL the first game of the season. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you look at the scenarios, like, why risk your legacy by keep on playing, even though you're the best quarterback in the league right now? But when people want to remember you, the last moments that people remember you playing, you want it to be winning the Super Bowl, not, losing in the NFC Championship game that we've seen him lose before. So I could totally get him retiring at the end of the season if they win the Super Bowl. Honestly, I think that makes the most sense. It would kind of be surprising if he doesn't, honestly, because, I mean, when you start looking, at it in different angles and everything, there's way more advantages of retiring than keep on playing. And I think if they would end up winning the Super Bowl, I think him retiring is a very strong possibility, like you mentioned.
Absolutely, and Aaron Rodgers is good friends with Jordy Nelson, and Jordy Nelson tore his ACL against the Steelers in the preseason. I remember this vividly, and there was talks of Jordy Nelson coming out of retirement and having a reunion with Randall Cobb and Aaron in Green Bay this year. But Jordy Nelson told him, "I'm okay. I want to stay retired on my farm," and I think that touched Aaron in a way. I'm sure that definitely, because he's an intellectual guy, he's a deep thinker, so I'm sure that he's definitely thought that over. He's like, wow, Jordy Nelson basically could ring chase with us, and he denied it, and that I'm sure, I guarantee that definitely has played a part in his contemplation in retirement. And, you look at it, I mean, yeah, Tom Brady's 44 and still playing at an elite level, but I don't know. Sometimes it's just different for guys. Look at Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin III. Those guys are how many years younger and retired and are doing sports commentary and coaching, etc. I mean, you look at some guys, their bodies can't take it. Aaron Rodgers has had knee surgeries and etc. So how many more can you have? How much more can your body withstand? He's had calf injuries. He's had the toe injury. Bada concussion. So I think at the end of the day, these next 4 weeks will determine Aaron Rodgers' legacy. Like you said, when you think of players, you don't want to think of them going down bad. When we think of Michael Jordan, we don't think of him as a Washington Wizard. We think of him as a Chicago Bull. When we think of Joe Montana, we think of him as a 49er, not as a Kansas City Chief. You think of Tom Brady, yes, you could think of him as a Buccaneer. He did win a Super Bowl. That's an exception now. But you think of Brady's tenure in New England, you can't beat it. I mean, this guy's phenomenal, okay? And if you look at it, I don't know how Eli Manning did it. He's Tom Brady's kryptonite. I mean, is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer? Yeah, he has 2 Super Bowl rings over the greatest quarterback of all time. How can he not be? So I'll give it to you.
And I already kind of said it. I just don't get the point of continuing to playing if you win it. And it's like when you mentioned, Joe Montana. I mean, Emmitt Smith was an Arizona Cardinal. Not many people remember it, but he only played there for 1 year. You look back at Chad Ochocinco. Everybody remembers, Ochocinco, having fun, doing touchdown dances with Cincinnati, being, a great, guy for Cincinnati that really put them on the map, basically. Not many people remember, Ochocinco post Cincinnati. He goes to New England, he goes to Miami, and then he gets arrested. He got arrested before he was officially, I believe, he was announced he was retired. So when you have, obviously wouldn't expect Rodgers to do that, but I'm saying, like, with that type of thing, you don't want a sour taste in your mouth when someone, the last thing somebody remembers your legacy. And Peyton Manning, I mean, when Peyton Manning retired and he wins the Super Bowl, there was, at the time, people were saying, well, Manning and Brady, that's debatable, and maybe Manning is the best quarterback of all time over Brady. When, let's say, if Rodgers wins the MVP and wins the Super Bowl his final year, I I feel like, at that point when you retire at your peak type of deal, I feel like it could kind of enter discussion more of a Brady Rodgers, debate for the greatest quarterback of all time, because you don't know what Rodgers would do after that type of deal. I just really think Rodgers, if they retire, it would be dumb. It would be really dumb to play next season. Um, if they, if he wins the Super Bowl in Green Bay. Now, if they don't win the Super Bowl, now who knows? But I feel like right now, I feel like the Packers are kind of the team to beat in the NFC, pretty much the NFL. But it's going to be very interesting to see, kind of how the Packers play and some of these other teams play in the playoffs. Obviously the Packers are the 1 seed in the NFC. In the AFC, the Tennessee Titans are the 1 seed. So when you kind of look at some of these teams, kind of these matchups here, we have the Chiefs against the Steelers. Whoever wins that will play the Titans. The Bills and the Patriots, whoever wins that will play the winner of the Bengals and Raiders. We have the Buccaneers and Eagles. Whoever wins that will play the Packers in Lambeau Field. That's a very big advantage. I've already mentioned a couple times. For the Green Bay Packers, we have the Cowboys and 49ers, the Rams, and the Cardinals. So when you kind of look at some of these, possible scenarios, who might play who and everything like that, and, some of these top teams, who was your kind of, picks to be, in the Super Bowl for the 2022 NFL Super Bowl?
Let's start off with the AFC. I think definitely Kansas City Chiefs are always dangerous when you have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, etc. And you got to look at it. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are dangerous as well. You got Joe Burrow and the boys. I think they're definitely a team to be reckoned with. In the NFC here, Green Bay Packers, no doubt about it. People will say Rams. People will say bada. Packers all day, baby, because Aaron Rodgers is going to win his 4th MVP. Like I said, they're coming off a 13-3 season, and it's a year. And, I think you look at the Cardinals, I don't think the Cardinals have a shot because they're overrated. Obviously, people were like, oh, they're undefeated. Cliff and Kyler Murray are the guys to beat. And I told you weeks ago, don't put any stock in them. I told you that they're going to eventually show their true colors. And look at the Rams. They ended up being the division leaders. And now they're on the verge of being a one-and-done exit out of the playoffs when you look at it here. So overall, I think my prediction, I've always had this vision. I don't know what it is, but when I was doing podcasts in Los Angeles with the Good News Network and podcasts, I don't know if anyone knows of them or heard of them, but definitely check them out. Shout out to everyone, Keith, Mark, Bruce, etc. But I said Chiefs Packers for 2 years in a row, and you know what? I'm just going to stick with that prediction for a 3rd year in a row. I don't know. There's something in my gut. It's a vision I've had for years on, and I think the Packers and Chiefs would be a great matchup. I want to see that matchup. I want to see Patrick Mahomes. I want to see Aaron Rodgers. I don't know why they do State Farm commercials together. They're friends out off the field. I think it would be a damn good Super Bowl. I think it would be one that you replay 10 years down and you say, God damn, that was one hell of a Super Bowl. It was a shootout, 45-42. You want that kind of game. So I think that's something that I want to see. I think the fans want to see it too. And let's be honest, if we get a Chiefs versus Packers Super Bowl, that would be the top-rated Super Bowl in history. Book it.
And, when you look at these Super Bowl matchups, people want to see the best matchups with the best possible quarterbacks. And obviously, when you look at the AFC, you would have Mahomes, and then the NFC, you would have Rodgers, and that's something else. I mean, not only with Rodgers, if he wins the Super Bowl and he retires, he's beating the future face of the NFL that people have said Mahomes is going to be for the next 10 to 15 years. So to me, it's really hard not picking against the Packers. You just can't do it. I mean, with having home field advantage, having the best quarterback in the league right now, just having 4 picks on the season. He only has 2 picks his last 16 games, which is just incredible. And you look at the NFC, I would have to go the Packers. The fact that everybody has to play in Green Bay And the way they're playing right now, this is one of those years. I just feel like it's going to be Green Bay in the Super Bowl to represent the NFC. And then looking at the AFC here, the Chiefs are the one that kind of stands out. Looking at it, if there's a scenario where I want to sound, I'm not trying to sound biased, but if there's a scenario where the Titans shock the Chiefs, I could see the Bengals possibly, being in that possible, Super Bowl thing, which is just something I never thought I would say. Are the Titans going to beat the Chiefs? Probably not. But I mean, Derrick Henry had more passing touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes did when the Titans played the Chiefs earlier. So I mean, you never know. I mean, there's lots of upsets in the postseason. I think the Bengals. I don't think they're going to be in the Super Bowl. I could see them being in the AFC Championship game, playing against the Chiefs, but then playing them in Arrowhead, it is so hard to do. Just like playing in Lambeau Field. It's like when the Chiefs and Packers have home field advantage, or when the other teams have to go through them in their home turf. It's very difficult for those road teams to get a victory, because not only are you playing against great quarterbacks and great teams, but I mean the atmosphere and just the way, the tradition at those stadiums. It's just very hard to get a win. I'm gonna say Chiefs and Packers. I know it's not really original. I know it's what you just said. But when you look at it here, you can't bet about the Packers right now. I just don't get how you can, because the fact that they're the 1 seed and these guys that we've already kind of mentioned, we know with David Bakhtiari and some of these guys getting healthier, and this is the best the Packers have played the whole season. And the Chiefs, I know they've struggled. They blew a 14-point lead against the Bengals, who heading into the week, nobody thought the Bengals had a chance against the Chiefs. Nobody thought the Bengals were going to win a division. Nobody thought they were going to be in the playoffs heading into the season. And then they blew a 14-point lead against, I don't know, top 5 quarterback right now. I know I'm kind of getting off topic, but I mean, when you look at Burrow, I think right now he's playing like the second best quarterback in the league. I'm not saying he's the second best. I mean, just past couple of weeks, he's playing like close to Aaron Rodgers level great. But with Mahomes, it's really hard to bet against them. I know they sucked against the Broncos. I mean, they're barely able to pull off a victory against Denver. But I would have to say the Chiefs and Packers. And, in this scenario, it's really hard for me to bet against the Packers. I would have to take Green Bay in this game, simply because so much is at stake for Green Bay. Because when you look at the Chiefs, they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl many times, as long as Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback in Kansas City. But we've already kind of talked about with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, you don't know how many more chances they're going to have. I mean, they're going to be, playing like, this is their last game together, which, very well could be, like we mentioned with, if Aaron Rodgers ends up, winning the Super Bowl, maybe he retires. But Chiefs and Packers, to me, it'll be a great game. Like you already mentioned, it's going to be a shootout. I think it could be very similar to what the Bengals Chiefs game is. Whoever has the ball last will end up winning this game. It's going to be a fun game if it is that. Hopefully, we see a great matchup in the Super Bowl. If you want to see, points and everything like that, I feel like this Packers-Chiefs one is one to watch out for. Should be a great game. I mean, you look at a quarterback who is possibly on the verge of retiring, then the quarterback who's going to be, one of the best quarterbacks in the league for the next decade. Cannot wait for it. Should be a great game, though, if it is Kansas City against Green Bay.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I look forward to doing a collaboration with you, whether that's in the playoffs or Super Bowl. That would be lovely if it was the Bengals versus Packers, and we get both best of both worlds. I'm excited for this upcoming matchup here. I think at the end of the day, it's different than basketball because it's one and done. You don't get best out of 7. It's well, you lost tough. Now you're on the couch watching. So that's the one difference about football. It's cutthroat. It's smash mouth football, baby. So I'm ready for it. And it's about that time of year, man. We're about wrapping it up, and this is the busiest time of year when you look at football. And I'm gonna try to get it off. I'm gonna see if I can switch some shifts around. Really, I just need to switch off Sunday. So I think I can make it happen, hopefully. But I look forward to doing it. Is there anything else you wanted to cover?
That really kind of about does it. Unless there's anything you wanted to add. Really should be a great week of football. There's so many tons of good matchups. Bills and Patriots, that's a very interesting one. Obviously, the Patriots are ticked off they didn't win the AFC East. Back-to-back years, the Bills won it. Several other good matchups like the 49ers and Cowboys. 49ers have had some, upset wins. The Cowboys have played great, but maybe Dallas, has an upset loss there. But, not really, unless there's anything, you wanted to talk about that really.
Yeah. I think the Green Bay Packers want our revenge on Tampa Bay. I'll leave it at that. I think we want to see them again. I really want to prove them wrong. We got wronged in that game, definitely at home, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So we definitely want to get our revenge on Brady and the Bucs. But other than that, I think that we determine our own fate. I just hope that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, because it's happened before, and I've witnessed it in the anger, the depression, the sadness that comes with it. It's just being a fan. It's real. It's real. Trust me. It's an emotional game. It's an emotional profession, and I would hate to see any teams go down bad. You always have respect for your opponents, because there's going to be a winner and a loser. And the best team wins at the end of the day. So thank you for having me on. I always appreciate you for taking the time out of your day and your busy schedule to have me on your show. I'll definitely have you on my show. I just started up doing Instagram lives again, and I got my setup finally. I got my mic, I got my mics or my camera stand, I got my light, so we're all set. I just did a show with Christian on my Instagram, so I'll definitely do that. But if you want, I'll definitely plug my socials.
Yeah, go ahead and tell some people where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tony Gazza TV on Instagram was deleted, unfortunately. I think I got copyright stricken too many times, or my account got reported. I think I did a no, so I'm sorry, guys. I'll definitely do better. But my main on Instagram is Antonio W. Gazza. You can find me there. My YouTube is Tony G TV, spelled how it's said. But definitely I appreciate the love and support, guys. Definitely big plans for this year. I hope the new year's treating you well. But I always appreciate you for having me on, my friend.
Really glad you were able to join, talk about some of the games this week in the NFL postseason, some, head coach firings as well. Make sure to follow, Tony where, he mentioned we can follow him on social media. That really about does it for this video. You can follow me on Instagram, the Sports Dude Hines Show, or on Twitter, the S Dude Hines Show. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I will see you all next time on the Sports Dude Hines Show.